Good morning. My name is Reverend Addae Kraba, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of New Braunfels. We are a welcoming, progressive community of seekers who come from a wide range of religious and socioeconomic backgrounds. We seek to share a journey of spiritual growth together while respecting the individual's right to freedom of belief. I sincerely hope that you enjoy our virtual services that are held each Sunday at 10:30. The light of this chalice is a symbol of our faith. Let this light bring inner peace. There is a love that holds us all. By the light of this chalice, let us rest in this love. We come together because we are Unitarian Universalists. We lift up our 7 principles that tell us how we should be, not what we believe. They tell us how we should act with each other and in the larger world. It has been a long and sometimes unforgiving road to today. Today, we are mindful of the past, but filled with hope for the future. We want the practice of this faith to be a manifestation of true democracy and justice, moving us all towards a place of wholeness. Let us worship together. Let us go within and be of heart, mind, and spirit to that spark of divinity that connects us all. Spirit of life and love, eternal source, you are the breathing of the world. Call us to love, mercy, and kindness. Move us to encounter and overcome injustices in ourselves, our lives, and institutions. Remind us to be gentle. Inspire us to do and be better people. May we have all that we need to survive, live, and thrive. Yours is the beloved community. Give us the fire of commitment in our hearts and generosity and abundance in our spirit, now and forever. Amen. In the words of Marge Piercy, I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who stand in the line and haul in their places. We are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud, botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amorphous for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real. The power of one. One of the most frequent questions that I'm asked is, where do you get the ideas or inspiration for sermons? Not every minister will give you the same answer, but I find inspiration everywhere. However, the most common source is from something that I'm challenged by or find myself grappling with, or from some personal experience that connects to my belief system in some way. With the election being uppermost on our collective minds these past months, and how strongly I feel about the importance of one vote, one person, and how we each have the power to make a difference, I began to reflect on a trip that I once made to North Carolina, where I was invited to attend a 5-day workshop. I was excited at the thought of spending time with a small group of people that I was very close to, but more so, very elated that I would finally have the opportunity to spend time at the mountain retreat center that's nestled along a stretch of the Blue Ridge in Highlands, North Carolina. The retreat center is an affiliate of the Unitarian Universalist Association and is simply referred to as the mountain. It's been said that every Unitarian Universalist must make a trip to the mountain at least once in a lifetime. Moreover, anyone who has ever visited that part of the country will agree that is some of the most beautiful landscape in the South. It's a perfect postcard picture of natural beauty. I was particularly struck by the pine trees that surrounds the buildings because they stretch upward as far as the eye can see. I was so taken by their majesty that I decided to collect some pine cones as a keepsake to remind me of the trip. So I began to keep an eye out for pine cones as I walked along every trail. But a funny thing happened after a couple of days. I had only found one, and I never saw another pine cone lying on the ground for the rest of my time there. So as not to be defeated, I decided that I would just pull them off the low-hanging branches. That's when I learned it's next to impossible to pull pine cones off their branches because they are actually the fruit of the tree that contains the seeds and only fall after they ripen, opening up to release the seeds onto the earth to begin the transformation of growth all over again. My first reaction was frustration and disappointment. But then I had my aha moment. I didn't need a pile of pine cones as a reminder of my stay because one was enough. I've given some thought to that experience many times over the years and how only one person and a singular act at a particular time can change the course of history. I know some of you remember that old Hollywood classic movie, It's a Wonderful Life. It's the story of George Bailey, who lives in a small town of Bedford Falls. Through misfortune and a sense of family obligations, George feels that his life has been a waste. But encouraged by Clarence, an angel in training, he comes to realize that despite personal disappointments, life is wonderful. And without his presence in the town, the lives of the people he's encountered would be altered, and Bedford Falls, as he knew it, would not exist. The world that we live in exists in part because a single individual held the power and had the courage to act in a particular moment. There was only one woman, Rosa Parks, who was destined to refuse sitting at the back of the bus, sparking a civil rights movement that changed the course of history and the lives of millions. One woman sexual harassment survivor, social activist Tarana Burke began using the phrase #MeToo in an effort to raise awareness about the abuse of women that sparked global recognition, moving us steps closer to social change. One woman, Thea Cheshire, had a vision for bringing liberal voices together in New Braunfels that resulted in 25 years and counting of this congregation. Unitarian Universalist own Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us in the essay Self-Reliant that we are singular expressions of all existence, a genius, a creator, a redeemer, a healer, a teacher, a force for good in the world. He continues saying that we each have a destiny, a part to play in this awesome universal battle for justice. However, we often fail to realize the impact that we as a single individual can make. Remember that as Unitarian Universalists, democracy is a core value and practice of our tradition. We are part of a tradition that was born out of dissent and created by challenges. We rest on a treasure of voices that stood alone as the power of one in their day. In 1568, the only Unitarian king in history, John Sigismund of Transylvania, put forth an unprecedented act prohibiting persecution of people for religious reasons in his Edict of Torda. That became the grounding for a free pulpit and a free pew. Hosea Ballou, one of the most influential preachers in the second generation of the Universalist movement, radically altered the thinking of his colleagues in the ministry and their congregations with his writing A Treatise on Atonement. In this, he argued that the scriptures should be read in the light of reason and preached universalism on a Unitarian basis. The voice of one woman, Sophia Lyne-Foss, revolutionized religious education and Unitarian Universalism. Now, with continued reflection on my trip to the week at the mountain, I began to realize how the presence of each individual helped create a specific dynamic that could never be duplicated. With the exception of one person, everyone in that group met at the airport in Atlanta, Georgia, to be transported by van to the mountain. That one individual drove themselves up, making that vehicle available to the group. There was a lake nearby, but access to it was a long walk for the elderly couple in our group. That vehicle provided them an opportunity to be transported back and forth for a daily swim. We were able to drive that vehicle to a nearby market for champagne and cake to plan a surprise 88th birthday celebration for another member in our group. There was one professional musician in our midst who was so inspired by our impromptu festivities that he composed a new piece of music in honor of the birthday celebrant. The 5 days at the mountain would have been a totally different experience if any one of the people present had not been in the picture. The same reality holds true for us in this congregation, as well as it does for us here in the United States of America. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, U.S. Representative from Massachusetts, reminds us that with all that has happened over the past 4 years in attempts to destroy our democracy, we shouldn't allow this administration to take away our joy at being part of the process. Because to be able to vote is a cause for celebration. She continues saying that joy is an act of resistance. We have seen that each vote counts. We have been laboring under many challenges over the past 4 years, some of us more than others. The current pandemic that we continue to struggle through, some of us more than others, is an added layer of stress. But Hillary Clinton reminds us that every moment wasted looking back keeps us from moving forward. Transitions do take time. When Stacey Abrams, founder of Fair Fight Action, an organization that addresses voter suppression, lost the Georgia gubernatorial race in 2018 due to voter suppression, in recounting that experience, she said, "I sat Shiva for 10 days. Then I started plotting." Her plotting resulted in 800,000 new voters being registered, so that in the presidential election of 2020, her power, the power of one, with patience and perseverance, helped turn a red state blue. Remember the words of Everett Edward Hayes: "I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do." Just imagine if each drop of water were to say, "One drop of water does not an ocean make." There would be no sea. If each note of music were to say, "One note does not a symphony make," there would be no melody. What bridges the distance between hope and reality and the survival of this congregation, as well as the survival of this country, is the power of each one together. From my heart to yours, may it be so.
Good morning, everyone. Please take a deep breath and make a joyful noise with me this morning by singing Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or fire of commitment. These we carry in our heart. I wish you passion for peace, reflect to make ready to go out into the world with full force to work for justice and love. May it be so.